Welcome back to another episode on the Oak and Rock Fatherhood YouTube channel. I am Zachary Small, joined by Anthony Miglierino, and today we are talking about peaceful parenting in divorced situations. Anthony, not divorced. Myself, not divorced, but both of us have worked extensively with men in that situation. So the lessons we're giving are not lessons we've lived, but lessons we've experienced through working with others. I like to get that out in the beginning because always, well, you're not divorced. What do you know? We know quite a bit. We've worked with a lot of men. We put the hours in. So this discussion is for those in that situation. But honestly, all fathers, there's going to be lessons in here that overlap even to married situations. So stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Anthony, while working with divorced men, I know it's one of the toughest issues that we face because the kids are torn between mom and dad. But what would you say, with peaceful parenting in mind, are some things that men need to focus on when dealing with divorce?
It is a difficult subject. Peaceful parenting is not easy on its own. When you have the family unit together, when you have a wife who's trying to support you to become a peaceful father. So when we get into a divorce situation, it gets really tough. There's a lot of guys who go through pain. They're dealing with a crazy ex-wife or somebody who might not be parenting their kids the same way. So it's definitely a challenge. But just because it's a challenge, I think it's important to understand that this does not make you a victim, right? This challenge, it needs to be seen that way. We need to see it as an opportunity to continue to grow. Again, the focus is always on ourselves, right? That's the main point with peaceful parenting. We want to make sure every behavior, every attitude, every example of what it is to be a good man is shown through us. And that's how we continue to grow. If you're in a spot where you get your children half the time, you're co-parenting, it doesn't mean that we become less of a father. It doesn't mean that we have to look down on ourselves or think that we're a bad person, right? It's not always bad. There are opportunities in everything, and that's how we have to see it as men. It's our duty to fulfill this role as a father, no matter what the circumstance, no matter how bad things get, no matter how frustrating or trying the situation is. So I think it's important to understand that, right? Don't be a victim. Don't let the circumstance control who you are. Look to overcome things, and look to be a peaceful father, a peaceful parent. Bring that life, that connection into your child's life. And there's really no going back from there. Once you start to take the steps, this is where you get that growth and you become a better man.
I really like the way that you frame that as well. Like, it's about you. We always say, I'm not going to judge a man on the color of his skin. I'm not going to judge him on his religion or his sexual preference, and damn sure not his relationship status. So you might have been a horrible husband, or that relationship with your wife might not have been the greatest in the world. So by getting divorced, how in the world do you think that changes your performance as a father? I don't think it does. I think this goes back to the merit of your character, which you have total control over. So if you're divorced, your relationship status changed, but your title of father, that's untouched. That should not change at all. Now, the actions you have to take as a father might have to change, but understand, if I say be a supportive father and you ended up divorced, you might have to offer more support, but you're still being a supportive father. So don't confuse the two. Things will change, but your duties as a father do not. So as to what you were saying, Anthony, again, when these guys come to me and they're like, well, what do I do if my wife is giving them snacks? What do I do if my wife is still yelling and spanking? You do all you can do. You be a consistently great father. You show up. You can't sit there and use your children as weapons to get back at your ex. And she's not even your ex because that ties her to you. She's their mother. So if we're speaking to the fathers here, don't use your children to get back at the mother. Don't try to be a better parent than the mother. That means you're trying to sort of outdo a ghost. You're trying to outperform somebody, and your kids is your vessel to being a better man. Don't use your kids. Connect with your kids. If their mother is spanking them and yelling in that household, but they come to you, then just be as consistent as you can. Let them know, hey, I parent a little differently. The rules in this home are different than the rules in her home. She's an adult and she's raising you the way she sees fit. I disagree with that way. Obviously, there's a reason you're divorced. You might have disagreed with a lot of things with how she performed. But here's the thing. Your kids need a stable and consistent environment in your home. So even though you're frustrated, you're going through the pains, maybe the wife or the ex was late to drop them off, and you're frustrated because you don't have that much time with them to begin with, that cannot bleed into your interactions. You have to be strong enough in that situation of shared custody to where you can swallow it and overcome it and find your outlets for it later on. But when you're with those kids, you're 100% with them. And you're there for them to have the difficult discussions. You're there for them to talk about, honestly, the elephant in the room, which is, hey guys, I know you don't like this. You don't like being shared on the holidays. You don't like 2 Christmases, 2 birthdays. You know, you address that. And as they grow into adults, they're going to see my dad was always there. My dad always showed up. He always supported. He always did all he could. And by their mother might have things to say about you. My father never even spoke about her, except when absolutely necessary. And he only said encouraging things to the children. That's the dad you want to be remembered as. Your divorce should not deviate or ruin the merit of your character at all.
Yeah, brother. It is a tough challenge, right? It's difficult for men to wrap their head around this concept and these ideas, and that's why we're having these conversations. They're important, and it's a great lesson to teach your children also, because not only are you going through a hard time, they're also having difficulty to deal with. So I think that's why it's important to focus more of the attention on your home than what's going on at their mother's house, or vice versa, whatever situation you're in. But, this is where, if you come from a standpoint where your kids need you, right? They need you to be your best. And if you focus the energy on all the bad things that's happening at the other home, that's that's going to really reflect on how you behave when you're with your kids. So don't waste time. Don't waste that time. It's too precious. You want to make sure that in your home we're following the principles of peaceful parenting, right? We want to create safety. We want to create trust, and we also want to make sure, going back to what I was saying before about being a victim, we want to make sure our child's minds are programmed that way also, that they're not victims, that life is, bad things are going to happen, but life is full of opportunity. There's so much abundance. There's so many ways that we can create better living, better standards, and even a more enjoyable home. And that's our job as dads. We need to focus on that. We need to focus on our role, what our duty is to become a better man, a better father. And it's so easy to fall back to those negative attributes of, I'm the victim, I'm a bad dad, how could I not hold the relationship together? But you have to move past it, and you really have to see, all right, these bad things happen, but now I have such a great opportunity to have one-on-one time with my kids more, right? They get all of me. When they're at my house, I give them 100%. And I will say that there's going to be setbacks in that also. As you go through the peaceful parenting, this process to becoming better, you will have setbacks, and you can't have that mindset, right? You can't say, oh, I'm a bad dad now. And you can't keep falling back into it. You got to pull yourself up. Again, that's why we do these talks, right? Men, they need support of other men. We need to start coming together, and we need to start understanding that to become a better father, we have to talk to other fathers, especially fathers who have their stuff together, fathers who are moving in the right direction. Those are the men we need to reach out to.
It's interesting as you're talking about, the positive focus versus the negative. I see a lot of these guys come in, and negativity sells online. It sells in the media. Scary headlines get people to read because it gets that fear-based emotion driving out of them. And it's almost like that's an ingrained human. I'm not sure if that's conditioned or if that's biology, but humans just react more to negativity. It's just easier. It's a lot easier for you to sit there and talk about, I'm a failure. I ruined this. My Disney story is destroyed. No white picket fence for us. I've got to share my kids. I don't get to see them enough. I'm not going to see them grow. Their mother hates me. He's making them hate me. It's really easy to fall into that spiral. And we see it time and time again. But then when we get these guys, so inside FOE, I've watched Anthony do this with a lot of these men, and myself more so on the marriage side, on rebuilding that sense of authenticity. But seeing that combination of developing the authentic, like, who are you as a man? Why is that so tied to your relationship status? And then to see Anthony look at, well, who, if now once you know who you are as a man, how do you deliver that to your children? How do you help them become their own authentic beings? That little marriage of those two things there is really highlighted in a discussion like this. When you really have, hey, how do I raise my kids in a peaceful environment when I only have them half the time? It's much easier said than done. But if you stop focusing on the negativity and you start focusing on here's where we're at and how are we going to get better, you strip the power from the word divorce. You strip it from the word custody. You strip it from all those frustrations going on. And it's like, no, let's just deal with this like mature individuals. And you know what? As frustrated as you are, if you can focus on the positive, you allow your children to do the same. Because again, they're so quickly tossed to the side. It's frustrating. Like their worlds and their issues they're going through don't matter as much because they're not adults. They're kids. So their problems aren't as big. But in their world, their problems are just as big as yours. So if you can be that example of, hey, this is rough, guys. I get it though. But we're going to see our way through this together. So when you come to my house, we're going to work in these things. We're going to do these things. We're going to have this connection. We're going to be, as you were saying, consistent in our values and what we're doing and our mission as a family. Dude, you're not going to let that little voice of negativity start eating away at you when you're alone at night. When you're sitting there by yourself on Christmas Day, instead of sitting there and just feeling like a sack of shit, sad and alone, you can turn that around. And I'm not calling you a sack of shit, but I've had these discussions, man, and they're the worst. It makes me sick to my stomach to know you're sitting there in New Year's, and last year you're with your family, and this year you're by yourself at a bar. Last year you were surrounded by family and opening stockings and presents, and now you're by yourself. You don't know what to do. You find a new positive focus. You find somewhere to bring yourself. And I'm going to go a little bit off the peaceful parenting plantation right now and a little more onto the authentic side of the man. As a father, you have to have something that's more than just your children, as something that's more than just your relationship. Because if that's all you have, you suffocate that thing. I'm nothing without you, wife. Well, she wants a man who has a mission, that has something besides her, that she can be a part of that journey. Your children, too, when they come in, that shouldn't be a reset every single time. Well, now that the kids are back, I can feel good again. Well, dude, you're on square one. You should have been feeling good the entire time. And when they show up, you take them into your world and you're in full motion. Hey, guys, I've got this thing I've been working on. Come check it out. Or I've been doing this new hobby. Come check this out, guys. And they can see, man, my dad, he's divorced, but he's not alone and sad. And when they leave you, they're not afraid that, oh, is this the last time I'm going to see dad because he's not going to find a reason to wake up tomorrow? You can be that beacon of light for them. And you can show them that they're not just divorced kids. They're not kids who are a product of divorce. They are individuals too, whose identity is not tied to their parents' relationship status. And that way, and Anthony, I'd love to hear your opinion on this, but that way you would show them that they are not destined to this fate. And I see that a lot. That's actually something we haven't really broken into, is children of divorce being afraid of relationships because they saw how toxic and what it did to their parents.
That's a really good topic, and everything to back up everything you said, right? We have to be that example. We have to be a man on a mission. We have to have some meaning and purpose in life. And to bring that back to the kids, a lot of times when we get divorced, or if you are divorced, we might become needy. So we try to go the peaceful parenting route, but we're always trying to prod or get our kids' attention because we feel bad, right? We're filled with shame. So we're always trying to overcompensate for the bad things that happened instead of just accepting what happened, right? Instead of just saying, hey, that's not part of me. It's something that happened to me in life and I have to move on. It's a great way to connect with your kid and to build trust with your relationship with them. If you're always, asking your kids what's wrong, how come you're sad? What's the matter? Which is good to an extent, but we don't want to overdo it, right? We want to be able to understand that our kids are going through pain and we don't want them to hide from who they are. The same way that we might judge ourselves by saying that we're a divorced dad and, life has no meaning anymore. Just because they come from a divorced family does not stop them or does not hold them to a lower standard than any other child. And we have to make sure they understand that. Those are discussions I think you should have with your kids. You have to be honest. You have to give them as much truth as you can about their circumstance, about, family plan. Same thing like you said, Zach. You have to have a mission there. There has to be some kind of meaning in life. And when you can open up with your kids, it is, divorced or not, it is such a great feeling to have your kids share something that they're passionate about, something that they're excited about. And, to see their face light up when they talk to you. And it's overwhelming, man. It's great. It's, and I do this with my kids all the time. I share things with them. I'm like, hey, I created a new brand with Zac, Oak and Rock Fatherhood, and we're going to try to help fathers. Not try, we're going to help fathers. And I talk to them with so much passion about it, because it's a part of who I am, right? It's a commitment, and it's a result of all the hard work I've done in my life. Years and years of slaving in my industry, and not having that meaning or that purpose. Always being clear on my mission, right? I wanted to keep getting better. But I think that is such a great lesson to pass down to your kids, right? To be the living example of what it means to live life with meaning and purpose.
We always say they follow the example and not the advice. I think that's, again, you're the hammer, you found the nail. They're going to do what you do. They're not going to do what you tell them they should do. They're going to see you. They're going to emulate you. So when it goes back to them having their relationships or them having their sense of self-worth, they're going to find themselves in your story. What did you do? Did you overcome the division or the ending or dissolution of that marriage? Or are you going to find yourself overcoming, hey, this didn't work, but that didn't end me. This didn't work out. I had put everything into it. I wanted this to work, but it didn't. That's okay though, because I'm going to try something new. I'm going to go somewhere new. I'm going to work on something new. And in your ability to find or not have, relationship PTSD, because oftentimes in divorce, there's some bitterness that comes after it. There's just you're angry at everything, and you're frustrated with the family law, and you're frustrated with all these things, and it bleeds over. And just like a veteran coming back from combat, it's still in there, that little voice. And if you don't deal with it, it lashes out in the wrong times. And your bitterness, if you're always walking around in eggshells and you're just frustrated at how the world sucks and everything sucks, you can't be surprised when your children are divorced kids, are having trouble with their own relationships. They are lashing out because you're doing the same. And that can be overcome if you choose to make your relationship status just a part of the story, but not the point of the story. You overcome it, and then you just go build a new one, and you learn to find love again. And that doesn't mean go and get married, but maybe it does. But you just go back to the point where you can start receiving love from the world and giving it back to the world, those positive vibes. Your kids will do the same. Hey, it didn't work out for my parents, but that doesn't mean it won't work out for me. My dad told me the things that he learned, the things that didn't work, why it didn't work. He didn't say, oh, we don't talk about that. That's between your mother and I. No. Here's where the relationship failed. My failings, her failings, and if we had worked on that, maybe it would have worked out. And if I were to do it again differently, here's what I would have done. But you give them those tools in their relationship when they go forward, they know how to use it. And they're not afraid of marriage. They're not afraid of commitment. They're not afraid of just, going to that next level besides superficial relationships. You can spare them that fate.
It's a powerful message to understand the capability or the capacity of what we show our kids, right? Being that example, and just instead of falling back on bad habits or negative thought, to completely change your mindset and not only parent, but live as a free man, right? Don't let anything hold you down. It's, to me, there's a lot of things we need to teach our kids, but I think that's most important, especially all the chaos in the world right now, right? Teach your kids to live free, to not be held down or held back by this nonsense that we tell ourselves.
With that, Anthony, I think we covered a lot of peaceful parenting. The guys have quite a bit to chew on. If they want to work with you one-on-one, if they want to send some messages or get some questions answered, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best way is at peacefulfathers.com. That's my main website. We offer coaching It's where I put my blog out, and there's always an open invitation. Any man who needs help, you want to have those tough conversations, I'm your guy. Come talk to me.
I'm Zach Small. All the links are below. You can find me most active on Twitter or thefamilyalpha.com, which as of today was re-released with the new update. So you can check out the new website now. It's looking pretty good. But
Nice.
look, if you have questions about divorce, or it doesn't really have to be about divorce, if you have questions about parenting or sort of rebuilding yourself after marriage or a failed relationship, drop it in the comments below or find us on social media, shoot us a DM. If you want to ask a question but don't want to have your name associated, what we're doing is we're answering a lot of questions from DMs without saying who sent it. So we can definitely do anonymous answers because you don't want your stuff out there. And I totally understand that. So shoot the DM. And again, we won't have your name tied to it, but we will answer it on next Wednesday when we run our live Q&A. But outside of that, Anthony, another one down, brother. Hopefully we're helping these men in this situation find ways to improve it and bring peaceful parenting to their divorced home and giving their kids their absolute best. Because again, your parent and your role as a father is not decided by your relationship status. Don't ever forget that. You're not less than because you're divorced. You're still a father. You still have a job to do.